On the 118th day of my marriage, my mother-in-law slid a printed invoice across her dining room table and told me I owed her $950 a month to keep living in my own house. Not her house. Not my husband's house. Mine. The small brick bungalow I bought 4 years before I ever met her son. The house my late aunt helped me save for. The house where every mortgage payment had come from my bank account, my overtime, my skipped vacations, and the careful little life I built after growing up with nothing that ever stayed. I stared at the invoice for a long time. Monthly family property contribution. Alder Lane residence. Occupant. Clara Whitman Vale. Amount due, $950. I should have laughed. I almost did. But then my husband Ethan looked down at the paper, avoided my eyes, and said, "Mom's just trying to make this fair." Fair. That was the word that made me open a file. And what I found inside county records, bank transfers, lender emails, and one digital notary log nearly cost me my home. My name is Clara Whitman. I'm 32 years old, and before I tell you about that dining room table, you need to know what I do for a living. I'm a title examiner. That means I spend my days reading the paperwork most people never think about until something goes wrong. Deeds, liens, easements, probate transfers, mortgage releases, quitclaim mistakes, old judgments that follow houses like ghosts, hidden claims attached to properties that look perfectly clean from the sidewalk. People think a house belongs to whoever has the keys. They are wrong. A house belongs to whoever the paper says it belongs to, until someone with better paper proves otherwise. That sentence has guided my entire adult life. I grew up without stability. My parents were not cruel people. They were tired people, scared people, people who loved me but never had enough money long enough to make love feel safe. We moved 6 times before I turned 16. Apartments with thin walls. Rental houses with landlords who promised repairs and disappeared. A duplex with a bedroom window that leaked every time it rained. One winter, we lived in a roadside motel for 3 weeks because my father's hours got cut and the landlord wanted cash by Friday. I learned early that a roof could disappear. So when I bought my first house at 28, I did not treat it like a purchase. I treated it like a rescue. It was a small brick bungalow on Alder Lane with a narrow porch, 2 bedrooms, a kitchen with outdated tile, and a maple tree that dropped leaves directly into the gutters like it had a personal grudge. It was not impressive. It was not large. It was not renovated enough for anyone to post online and call it a dream home. But it was mine. My Aunt Vivian had died the year before and left me $38,000. To some people, that is not life-changing money. To me, it was a door opening after years of knocking on walls. I added every dollar I had saved from overtime, put down $61,000, and took a small fixed mortgage I could afford even if life got mean. At closing, I signed every page slowly. The agent joked, "You're more careful than most attorneys." I smiled and said, "I read deeds for a living." She laughed. I wasn't joking. For the first year, I ate dinner on a folding table because I would rather own a house with no furniture than rent a beautiful apartment with someone else's name on the lease. I painted the bedroom myself. I learned to repair a leaking faucet from videos online. I replaced the porch light with one I found on sale. I bought curtains 6 months after moving in because curtains were not urgent. The mortgage was urgent, the emergency fund was urgent, the feeling of never being forced out again was urgent. Every improvement felt like stitching myself into the walls. Then I met Ethan. Ethan was warm in the way people are warm when they have never had to become their own shelter. He worked in medical sales, drove a car he couldn't really afford, and could talk a parking ticket down to a warning just by smiling at the clerk. He made life feel less tense. That was what drew me in. I had spent years checking records, checking balances, checking locks, checking email confirmations, checking every small detail because I knew what happened when people didn't. Ethan checked nothing. He called it trusting the universe. I called it terrifying. Somehow, for a while, It felt like balance. We dated for 15 months before getting married in a small ceremony at the botanical garden. My mother cried. My father wore the wrong shoes. Ethan cried during his vows and made everyone love him. His mother, Marjorie Vale, watched from the front row in a pearl gray suit, smiling like a woman approving a transaction. That was my first impression of Marjorie. Not cruel, not warm, appraising. Marjorie had been widowed for 10 years. She owned a large colonial house across town, had perfect posture, and spoke in complete sentences that somehow always ended with someone else doing what she wanted. She called herself traditional. Ethan called her a little intense. His sister, Daphne, called her the family CEO, laughing like it was cute. It was not cute. It was accurate. After the wedding, Ethan moved into my bungalow because it made sense. His lease was ending, my mortgage was cheaper, the house was close to both our jobs. I was clear from the beginning. This house stays in my name, I said. Ethan kissed my forehead. Of course. I'm not marrying your deed, Clara. I believed him. That is the part that still embarrasses me. For the first month, marriage was ordinary in the sweet, boring way I had always wanted ordinary to be. Ethan left socks in the living room. I learned he put hot sauce on eggs. He learned I label file folders for fun. We argued once about where to keep coffee mugs and resolved it like adults. Then Marjorie got a key. I did not give it to her. I came home early one Wednesday because a county recording system had gone down and my office closed at 3. Marjorie's silver SUV was in my driveway. The front door was unlocked. Inside, I found her in my kitchen wearing cream gloves and wiping down the inside of my spice cabinet. She looked over her shoulder and smiled. Clara, good. I was wondering where you kept the extra trash bags. I stood in the doorway. How did you get in? She lifted a brass keyring from the counter. Ethan made me a copy, just for emergencies. I looked at the spice jars arranged alphabetically. What emergency happened in the cumin? She blinked. Then she laughed lightly. Oh, you're funny. That was the first phrase she used when she meant difficult. I waited until she left. Then I called Ethan. He sounded confused by my tone. Babe, it's just Mom. She likes to help. She let herself into my house. Our house. There it was. Small. Casual, planted like a seed. I said, no, my house. Our home, maybe, but my house. He was quiet for half a second. Right, that's what I meant. It was not what he meant. But I let it go. Not because I was weak, because I had spent years learning that the first strange detail is not the case. It is the beginning of the case. You don't argue with the first detail, you document it and wait for the second. The second came quickly. Marjorie started coming every Wednesday. She called it helping. She moved my cleaning supplies, changed my dish towels, replaced my framed black and white photos with floral prints, she said, were more welcoming. She brought a ceramic rooster for the kitchen counter and looked wounded when I moved it to the pantry. She called my guest room Daphne's room because Ethan's sister sometimes stayed over after wine nights. She called my porch the family porch. She called my grandmother's old rocking chair our heirloom chair after sitting in it once. That is how people like Marjorie work. They rename things first. Ownership follows language. I told Ethan it bothered me. He said, she's just trying to feel included. I said, she doesn't live here. He said, no, but we're family now. Family now. The phrase would come back later with a balance due. 2 months into the marriage, Ethan brought up financial organization. We were eating takeout at the kitchen island. He had soy sauce on his sleeve and a folder beside his plate. I was talking to Mom's estate attorney, he said. I looked up immediately. About what? Nothing bad. Just grown-up stuff. Marriage, beneficiaries, emergency planning. My house is already in my trust documents. His smile twitched. Right, but now that we're married, it might be smarter to create a marital residence agreement. I put down my fork. A what? He opened the folder. It doesn't change anything. It just shows that we both live here and that if something happens, there's clarity. Who drafted this? Mom's attorney. Why is your mother's attorney drafting paperwork about my house? He laughed softly. Because, she offered. You always think everything is sinister. I read property fraud files for a living, Ethan. Exactly. So you know paperwork protects people. Yes. When the right person prepares it for the right reason. He reached for my hand. Clara, I'm not trying to take anything. I love you. I live here. I help pay bills. I just want to feel like we're building something together. That last sentence did the damage. Because I did want that. I wanted a marriage, a shared life, a home that felt warm instead of guarded. I wanted to stop being the girl who checked the roof every time the sky changed. So I read the document. I did. I was careful enough to catch that it did not transfer ownership. It referenced shared occupancy, household contribution, emergency access, and mutual responsibility for routine expenses. It was not a deed. It was not a mortgage. It did not add Ethan to title, but one paragraph bothered me. Household contributions may be considered in future reimbursement discussions if either party seeks formal accounting of improvements, repairs, or residence-related support. I asked Ethan about it. He waved it away. That's just standard language. It's not standard. Fine. It's cautious language. That's what attorneys do. I stared at the page. He softened his voice. Clara, please. I don't want to feel like a guest in my wife's house. That sentence found the bruise. I signed. But before I did, I scanned the full agreement, saved it in 3 places, and printed a copy for my locked file box. That habit saved me later. 3 weeks after that, Ethan started paying $1,100 a month into our joint household account. He said it was his contribution to the mortgage and utilities. It was more than half the actual mortgage, but he insisted. I want to pull my weight. I should have questioned it harder. Instead, I was relieved. For the first time since buying the house, I had financial breathing room. I used the extra money to fix the gutters, replace the guest room window, and pay down my car. Then the pressure started changing shape. Marjorie began mentioning fairness. At first, casually, Ethan is very generous, contributing so much. Then, at Sunday dinners, in a marriage, both people should feel equally invested. Then, in text messages. Don't forget to save improvement receipts, dear. Family accounting matters later. Later? That word stuck to me. Daphne made jokes too. So is Clara officially letting you live there now? Or are you still on probation? Everyone laughed. Ethan laughed the loudest. I didn't. One Friday night, I found Ethan at the kitchen island with his laptop open. He closed it too quickly when I walked in. That was the 3rd detail. What are you working on? I asked. Nothing. Ethan, he sighed. Mom just wanted the insurance declarations page. She said her attorney asked whether the marital residence agreement should reference the correct coverage. I stood very still. You sent my insurance documents to your mother? Our insurance documents. No, my homeowner's policy. He rubbed his face. Clara, this is exhausting. Then stop giving your mother my documents. She's trying to protect us. From what? He didn't answer. That night, I checked our shared printer history. Mortgage statement, insurance declarations page, gutter repair receipt, property tax bill, all printed in the last 2 weeks. I had not printed them. I copied the log. Then I changed the printer password. The invoice came 9 days later. Day 118 of marriage. Sunday dinner at Marjorie's house. Her dining room looked like a place where apologies went to die. Heavy curtains, polished silver, floral plates, no one was allowed to microwave. Daphne sat beside her husband, scrolling through her phone. Ethan sat across from me, oddly quiet. After dessert, Marjorie cleared her throat. I think it's time we discuss the household arrangement. I looked at Ethan. He looked at his plate. Marjorie slid a printed sheet across the table. Monthly family property contribution. Alder Lane residence. Occupant, Clara Whitman Vale. Amount due, $950. I read it twice. Then I looked at her. What is this? Marjorie folded her hands. Rent. Daphne smiled into her wine. My husband said nothing. Marjorie continued. Now that the house is part of the Vale family structure, everyone needs to contribute fairly. Ethan has been contributing. You should too. I stared at the paper. The house is mine. Marjorie's smile did not move. Legally, these things become more nuanced after marriage. I almost laughed. Nuanced. My profession is reading nuance until it confesses. I looked at Ethan. Do you agree with this? He shifted in his chair. Mom is just saying we need to be fair. I pay the mortgage. Technically, the household account pays it now. With money I control. And mine. Marjorie leaned in slightly. Clara, no one is attacking you. But you can't benefit from family support and then act like an island. There it was. The trap, disguised as fairness. I folded the invoice once and placed it beside my plate. Then I said very calmly, I'm going home. Daphne laughed. Home? Like separate from Ethan? I looked at her. Yes, the one I bought. The silence that followed was wrong. Not surprised. Offended, as if I had broken a rule everyone else already knew. Marjorie's voice cooled. You mean the Alder Lane residence? No, I said. I mean my house. Ethan finally looked at me, and in his face, I saw it. Not guilt exactly. Certainty. He genuinely believed I was the unreasonable one. That scared me more than anger would have. I thanked Marjorie for dinner, left the invoice on the table, and drove back to Alder Lane alone. Ethan did not follow for 2 hours. By then, I had opened a new folder on my laptop. File name, Alder Lane ownership issue. At the top of my notes, I typed one question. Why does Ethan think my house belongs to them? The answer began with the joint household account. I pulled 6 months of statements, mortgage payments, utilities, groceries, normal expenses, normal deposits, normal life. Then I looked closer at Ethan's $1,100 monthly contribution. It came in from his checking account, and every month, the next morning, most of it left again. Same amount, same destination, a transfer to an account I did not recognize. Vale Family Holdings, LLC. My husband's contribution to our household was not staying in our household. It was passing through our account, touching my mortgage ledger just long enough to look like shared contribution, then leaving again. I sat very still. A house can be stolen through paperwork. A story can be built through bank statements. Someone was building a story that Ethan contributed to my property. I searched the LLC. Public record. Registered agent, Marjorie Vale. Formation date, 3 weeks after my wedding. Business purpose, family asset management. Family asset management. My house was not a family asset, but someone was preparing to manage it like one. I did not confront Ethan. That is important. People think truth wants confrontation. It doesn't. Truth wants preservation. The next morning, I called in sick, drove to the county recorder's office, and pulled every document tied to Alder Lane. The deed was clean. Still mine. No new mortgage. No lien. No transfer. For 1 hour, I thought maybe I was overreacting. Then the clerk said, "Do you want associated filings under related party names?" Yes. She found one. Not against the deed. Not directly against the mortgage. Against the marital residence agreement. A UCC financing statement. That sounds complicated, so let me explain it the simple way. A UCC filing is like someone putting a little paper hook into public records and saying, "We may have a financial claim here." It does not mean they own your house, but it can be used later to create leverage, to scare you, to cloud a refinance, to make a sale messy, to make a judge ask why their name appears in the records at all. This one was filed by Vale Family Holdings LLC. Debtor, Ethan Vale and Clara Whitman Vale. Collateral description. household improvements, shared occupancy interest, reimbursement rights, and equitable claims arising from marital residence agreement. My skin went cold. It was not a deed. But it was a hook, and people do not throw hooks unless they plan to pull. I ordered certified copies. Then I called an attorney named Priya Desai, who had helped my company on title disputes. She was small, intense, and had once told a developer, "Your confidence is not evidence." I respected her immediately. I sat in her office with my folder. She read everything without interrupting. The marital residence agreement, the UCC filing, the household account transfers, the invoice, the LLC registration, the printer logs, the insurance documents Ethan had sent. When she finished, she looked up. "Did you sign any loan documents?" "No." "Any contractor reimbursement agreements?" "No." "Any security agreement giving this LLC an interest?" "No." "Any document saying Ethan or his family owns part of the home?" "No." She tapped the UCC filing. "This is aggressive. Not necessarily strong, but aggressive. They are trying to create leverage. For what? Money? Ownership? Control? Maybe all three." My mouth felt dry. "Can they take the house?" "Not from what I see. But they can make your life expensive if they claim improvements, contributions, equitable interest, marital reimbursement. Especially if your husband supports the claim. He will." I heard myself say it before I fully knew it. Priya's face softened slightly. "Then we move first. What do? We separate finances. We demand withdrawal of the UCC filing. We terminate unauthorized access. We preserve evidence. And you do not let your mother-in-law back into the house." I almost smiled. That part I can do. But before we could send anything, Marjorie gave me the missing piece. She came over Wednesday. Of course she did. I watched from my car across the street because I had left work early intentionally. She pulled into my driveway, used her key, and walked into my house carrying a canvas tote. I waited 10 minutes. Then I entered through the front door. Marjorie was in my dining room photographing receipts from my file drawer. Not stealing. Not hiding. Photographing. She froze with my gutter repair invoice in her hand. I said, "Put it down." She recovered quickly. I was organizing. "No. You were documenting." Her smile turned thin. "Those improvements were paid for with family money. There it is." "Excuse me?" I walked to the table and picked up one of the receipts. Gutter repair. Paid from my personal credit card. Family money. Ethan contributes. Ethan's money leaves the household account the next day. She blinked. Only once. But I saw it. I always see it. I took her key from the table. "You won't need this anymore." Her face hardened. "Clara, don't be foolish. You are young. Marriage requires sharing. Sharing is when I agree." She stepped closer. "You signed an agreement." I signed occupancy terms, not ownership, not reimbursement, not rent. "You don't know what you signed." I almost laughed. Then she said the sentence that ended any remaining doubt. "My attorney says we have a claim. Not Ethan. Not the family. We." I opened the front door. "Leave." She looked truly shocked. "You would throw your husband's mother out?" "No," I said. "I am removing a person who is building a file against me inside my own home." She left with her lavender perfume still hanging in the hallway. I changed the locks that afternoon. When Ethan came home, his key did not work. He called me from the porch. "Clara, what the hell?" I opened the door but kept the chain on. His face went red. "You changed the locks?" "Yes. My stuff is inside." "You can schedule a time to collect it." "I live here." "Not tonight." His anger shifted into disbelief. "My mother was right. You're treating this like only you matter." I looked at him through the narrow gap. "Ethan, did you know about the UCC filing?" He went still. That was answer enough. "Did you know your mother's LLC was creating a claim against my house?" He rubbed his face. "It was just protection." "For whom?" for the family. And I am what? The opportunity? He looked away. I closed the door. The next morning, Priya sent the first letter, a formal demand to Vail Family Holdings LLC, requiring immediate withdrawal of the UCC filing as unauthorized and unsupported by any valid security agreement. A notice to Ethan disputing any claim of ownership, reimbursement, or equitable interest beyond ordinary household contribution. A notice that Marjorie no longer had permission to enter my property. A notice preserving all bank records, emails, drafts, receipts, printer logs, and communications. Papers started moving. So did they. Marjorie sent an email before lunch. Subject: Rent payment overdue. Clara. Until this is resolved, your refusal to contribute fairly to the Alder Lane residence will be documented. Ethan has contributed significantly. Family funds have supported the property. Please remit the attached amount within 5 business days to avoid further escalation. Attached was the same invoice, $950. I forwarded it to Priya. Then Daphne posted in the family group chat. Some people love boundaries until the bills come due. Ethan texted me privately. You're making mom feel like a criminal. I wrote back. She filed a claim against my property through an LLC. He replied, You're making this legal when it should be family. I stared at that sentence. That was exactly the problem. They had made it legal first. They only wanted it to be family when I started reading the law back to them. On Friday night, I found the email that made my hands shake. Ethan's laptop was still logged into our shared cloud because he had saved house photos there for insurance. I was not digging. I was downloading my own documents before removing his access. A message preview appeared in the synced folder. From Ethan to Marjorie. Sent 3 weeks earlier. Subject: Re. Clara. I opened it because my name was there and my house was in danger. Ethan had written, She won't sign anything that looks like transfer. But if we keep it framed as fairness, she'll calm down. She wants to be married more than she wants to be alone. Once enough payments show through the household account, Priya, or whoever she calls, will have to admit I contributed. Then we can get her to agree to buyout terms or add me formally. I read it once, then again. Then I saved it, printed it, sent it to Priya. That was the moment my marriage ended. Not legally. That would take months. But inside me, it ended right there, with my husband explaining to his mother how to use my desire for marriage against me. Marjorie called a family meeting 2 days later. She did not invite my attorney. That was her mistake. The meeting was at her house on a Sunday afternoon. Ethan texted me twice, telling me not to make it legal. Daphne texted that I was embarrassing everyone. An aunt of Ethan's, whom I had met once, wrote, Family means compromise. I texted Marjorie one sentence. I will come, and I will bring documents. She replied, Bring whatever helps you feel comfortable. That was when I knew she still thought paper belonged to her. I arrived with Priya. Marjorie opened the door and her face changed. Clara, this is a family conversation. Priya smiled. Perfect. Families should enjoy accurate records. We entered. The dining room was full. Marjorie at the head of the table. Ethan beside her. Daphne and her husband. Uncle Paul, Marjorie's brother, who had once worked in commercial lending. 2 cousins I barely knew. The invoice was on the table again, like a prop waiting for its scene. $950. Priya and I sat at the opposite end. Marjorie folded her hands. I asked everyone here because I think we need transparency. I said, good. She began with a speech about marriage, shared responsibility, family property, and how I had become hostile after being asked to contribute fairly. People nodded. Ethan stared at the table. Then Marjorie gestured to the invoice. All we asked was that Clara pay a fair monthly amount, since the family has contributed to the residence. Priya said, Which family? Marjorie blinked. What? Priya opened her folder. Which family contributed? In what amount? On what date? Under what agreement? The room went quiet. I slid the first page onto the table. My deed. purchased 4 years before marriage. Sole owner, Clara Whitman. Second page. My down payment, $61,000 from my account, including inheritance funds from my aunt. Third page. My mortgage ledger, paid from my account until after marriage, then from a household account I controlled. Fourth page. Household account transfers. Ethan's monthly deposits entered the account and were transferred out the next day to Vale Family Holdings LLC. Uncle Paul leaned forward. What is Vale Family Holdings? I looked at Marjorie. Her LLC. Daphne frowned. Mom? Marjorie's face remained composed, but her neck had gone red. Priya placed the UCC filing on the table. This is a financing statement filed by Vale Family Holdings claiming collateral rights connected to Clara's home. It was filed after Clara signed a residence agreement that did not grant a security interest. Uncle Paul picked it up. He read silently. Then he looked at Marjorie. Why would you file this? Marjorie said, to protect Ethan. From what? She did not answer. Ethan finally spoke. We were contributing. I turned to him. No. You were routing money through our household account to make it look like contribution while your mother's LLC built a reimbursement claim. That's not... Priya interrupted. The bank records are clear. Ethan looked at her, then at me. His anger faltered. Good. I had not come for anger. I had come for arithmetic. Then I placed the email on the table. Ethan's face changed before anyone read it. That told me everything. I said, this is the email you sent your mother. The one where you wrote that I wanted to be married more than I wanted to be alone. The one where you said if enough payments showed through the household account, you could get me to agree to buyout terms or add you formally. Daphne whispered, Ethan. Uncle Paul put on his glasses. Marjorie said sharply, that was private. I looked at her. So was my house. That landed. Not loudly. Cleanly. Ethan's voice was small. I didn't mean it like that. You typed it like that. I was frustrated. You were strategic. He looked away. Marjorie's voice sharpened. Clara is making this sound sinister because she is possessive. She signed the agreement. She accepted Ethan's money. She accepted family help. I placed the invoice in the center of the table. Then why charge me rent? No one moved. I continued. If I own the house, rent makes no sense. If Ethan owns it, rent still makes no sense because spouses don't charge each other through mothers. But if your plan was to create a record that I acknowledged your family's claim, then this invoice makes perfect sense. Uncle Paul slowly set down the UCC copy. The room had shifted. Marjorie felt it, so she changed tactics. You are talking about legal theories while ignoring real life. Ethan has been stressed. Daphne needed help with medical bills. I have carried this family alone since their father died. There it was. The sympathy door. I looked at Daphne. Medical bills? Daphne looked confused. What medical bills? Marjorie closed her eyes. Too late. Priya handed me one more page. Vale Family Holdings account activity, pieced together from transfers Ethan had access to and emails he had foolishly left synced on my laptop, enough to show the shape. I said, the money Ethan routed from our household account went into your LLC. Some went to Daphne's old credit card, yes, but most went to the tax lien on this house. Marjorie's mouth tightened. Uncle Paul said, tax lien? Daphne turned fully toward her mother. What tax lien? Marjorie stood. This is private. I looked around the table. So was my house. For the first time, Daphne looked at me not like I was difficult, but like she was beginning to understand she had been used as decoration in someone else's lie. Priya spoke then, voice level. Mrs. Vale, my client is prepared to file for declaratory judgment and damages if the UCC filing is not withdrawn by close of business tomorrow. She is also prepared to pursue claims related to unauthorized financial pressure, false property claims, and any attempt to collect rent under a disputed assertion of ownership. Marjorie laughed once. You think a judge will care about family disagreements? Priya smiled. I think judges care when people use paperwork to manufacture claims against property they do not own. Uncle Paul pushed back his chair. Marjorie, withdraw it. She stared at him. You don't understand. I understand enough. The girl bought the house before she married Ethan. You filed against it through an LLC. Withdraw it. Girl, I was 32. But somehow, from him, in that moment, it did not feel insulting. It felt like someone finally noticing I had been outnumbered. Ethan looked at me. I didn't think it would go this far. I laughed softly. People always say that when they start something, they expected someone else to absorb. He looked down. Marjorie's eyes filled. But I had learned by then that tears were not always surrender. Sometimes they were strategy running out of road. Clara, she said, softer now, I was trying to protect my family. I nodded. I know. You just forgot I wasn't furniture inside it. No one spoke. Then I said the line I had been carrying since the invoice. You don't get to charge me rent for a life I built before you learned how to profit from it. Marjorie sat down. The UCC termination was filed the next day. Ethan moved out that week. The legal separation became a divorce within 4 months. The marriage had lasted less than a year, which embarrassed me at first. Then Priya said, better a short mistake than a long theft. I kept that sentence. Ethan did not fight hard. He couldn't. The residence agreement did not say what his mother wanted it to say. The UCC filing was withdrawn. The deed was mine. The down payment trail was clean. The household transfers showed exactly what they were trying to create. He cried once during mediation. I loved you, he said. I believed him, strangely. But love without respect is just warmth from a fire someone else controls. I think you loved being safe in my house, I said. That isn't the same thing. Marjorie kept her house too, though not because of me. Uncle Paul stepped in, forced a sale of some family investments, and made her work out the tax lien. Daphne stopped speaking to her for a while, after learning her name had been used as an excuse. That was not my concern anymore. I changed my locks again after Ethan moved the last box. Not because he had a key, because I wanted the sound. The click of the new deadbolt closing was the closest thing to a hymn I had ever heard. For the first month after the divorce, the house felt too quiet. Not lonely. Cleared. Like a room after people who talked too loudly finally left. I put my black and white photos back on the wall. I moved my grandmother's rocking chair to the living room window. I threw away the ceramic rooster. I replaced every lavender-scented cleaning product with lemon. Then, one Saturday morning, I opened my file box. Deed. Mortgage statement. Down payment wire. Residence agreement. UCC termination. Email printouts. Divorce decree. Every paper in order. Every claim answered. Every door locked. I sat at my kitchen table, the same table where I had opened the first file, and wrote one sentence on a sticky note. A safe home is not selfish. I stuck it inside the cabinet where Marjorie had once rearranged my spice jars. It is still there. Sometimes I still think about Ethan's email. She wants to be married more than she wants to be alone. He was wrong. I wanted to be married. I did not want it more than I wanted to be safe. There is a difference. And learning that difference saved my home. Now, when I come home from work, I still check the porch light. I still check the lock. I still notice whether anything has moved. Maybe that will always be part of me. But the checking feels different now. It no longer feels like fear. It feels like ownership. The maple tree still drops leaves into the gutters like it is personally offended by autumn. The kitchen tile is still outdated. The porch still needs repainting. But every evening when I turn my key in the lock and hear the bolt slide open, I remember the girl who grew up believing a roof could disappear. Then I step inside the house she saved herself for, and I close the door behind me. Not to keep love out, to keep theft from calling itself love. That is my story. A house I bought alone. A husband who thought marriage made my equity available. A mother-in-law who tried to turn my name into family collateral. A printed invoice for rent in my own home. and one folder that put every lie back in its proper column. If this story stayed with you, share it with someone who needs to check the paper behind the promise. And remember this: the people who truly love you do not need a lien on your life to feel secure. They do not rename what is yours until you forget it belonged to you. They do not charge you rent for standing inside the home you built yourself. A safe home is not selfish, and the sound of your own lock closing behind you can be the sound of peace.